Hey everyone, it's Deborah Poneman, founder of Yes to Success, where we share knowledge and tools for you to live your ultimate life. So last week, I said that I was going to continue our discussion about power. And I think we could spend a lot of weeks talking about power, but I want to start out today with a quote from Master John Douglas, who is a great healer and teacher who hails from Australia. He works closely with the Master Angels. I'm going to read his quote right now. It's kind of long, and I just love him. I love him for many reasons, but I especially love his irreverence and also how he absolutely tells it like it is, like no holds barred. So here's the quote. You can say and do anything in this world because there are very few people who can see what's coming from inside of you, what's really cooking in the oven. But the master angels and all the great beings are only concerned with what is cooking in your oven, not about what you're flapping about, saying and doing on the outside, trying to appear like something. It's like putting a sticker on your car that you're a vegan. All right, congratulations. But what is the real content of your heart? That's what the angels see. I mean, they see everything, but they're not concerned with what you're trying to do and say and how you're trying to appear to the world. It's what's within you that they see. That's how you're deemed worthy, deserving, and allowed to have greater growth, bliss, and happiness. Wow. So I ask you, what is the real content of your heart? Because that is what the angels see. As he said, they're not concerned with what you're trying to do and say and how you're trying to appear to the world. It's what's within you. That's how you're deemed worthy and deserving and allowed to have greater bliss and happiness. So what we have to do if we really want growth, bliss, and happiness is to stop fooling ourselves. It's that simple. And not only will that truth set you free, but true power comes from living our truth at every moment, not flapping about this or that or trying to look good. I want to share with you a story about two friends and I. And when we noticed that we were about, how do I say it? We were not being our most powerful selves, even though we were flapping about it a lot. So this happened, actually, now it's almost 2 years ago because it was kind of towards the beginning of COVID. And two of my friends came to visit, and they are both transformational leaders. He, who will remain nameless, you've seen on Oprah. So we're out to lunch, and we're having a grand old time sharing our horror stories. His story was about his ex-wife and how he will never be able to get ahead because he signed a horrible divorce agreement that no matter how much he makes, it's always gone. And what's even worse is that I was online right after that, getting his date of birth. I think it was like the next day. And I just started reading an interview with him from 2008, 13 years earlier. And he was telling the exact same story in the interview about his ex and how he had made a lot of money, but because of this monstrous person, he had nothing left. And his girlfriend, a dear, dear friend of mine for many, many years, also had a story about her ex and how he's poisoning her kids against her and what a master manipulator he is. And she didn't know if her kids would ever come around again. And then it was my turn. And I had it wasn't like we took turns. It was like we were jumping on top of each other who could like share the worst story. And I had my story about how I could not believe that there was someone who appeared to be loving and supportive, who I had found out did some really nasty things behind my back and to undermine my success in kind of a subtle way, but very manipulative. And I'm going on and on and on. And about, I don't know, like 20 minutes into our complaint-a-thon, thinly veiled as being very sanctimonious because we didn't name names in most cases or really cut loose. But about 20 minutes in, we stopped because we noticed what we were doing. And we reminded ourselves that nothing comes into our experience that we are not a vibrational match for. And even though in our careers we were flapping about that concept, we were not living it. So then we each did take a turn and we shared how we were a vibrational match to what was going in our lives. I took a look and I saw exactly how I was not 100% of the time being loving and supportive, maybe on the outside, but there were times that I was being manipulative too. And on the outside, I was, peaches and cream, but what was cooking in the oven was not exactly apple pie. Being duplicitous in that way is what takes away your power. And when you remember that nothing can come into your experience without you being a vibrational match to it, all you have to do is pay attention to your own vibrational offering, and you save yourself the enormous and impossible task of controlling the behavior of other people. And the more you dwell on their bad behavior, the more it grows in your life, the more you attract it. And the less attention you give to it, and the more willing you are to allow others to live as they choose, the happier your life will be. And truly, the monstrous wife and the horrible husband and the manipulative colleague are, once again, our greatest gifts. You've heard me talk about this in many messages because they are our biggies, and we all have a biggie. It's easy to love those who love us. It's easy to have a great relationship with your ex if he or she is a saint like mine happens to be, but I'm a match for a saint in that area. But when we can actually love the biggies, that's when we are deemed worthy, deserving, and allowed to have true growth, bliss, and happiness. And it's not their behavior that we're loving, it's their God essence. That's why we don't speak ill of them. If we do, we're speaking ill of Source, Spirit, the Creator, because we're all made in her image. However, and this is actually really important too, you don't have to act like you love them if you don't. Maybe that's what Master John meant when he said, it's not what you're flapping about, saying and doing on the outside, trying to appear like something. If you're feeling towards someone one way in your heart and flapping about how great they are, isn't that just as out of integrity as flapping about how horrible they are? A student of mine once asked me what I thought of a teacher and their teaching. So trying to be positive and not speak ill, I said some really, really nice things that in the oven, I wasn't feeling. I had to be nice, positive Deborah. And then the student came back to me and said that they had signed up for a course with that person, and they were shocked that I had said such nice things. She felt the person was completely disingenuous, and she couldn't believe I spoke so highly of her. So if we're called upon to give our opinion, there is always neutrality. Or find something good, but don't go overboard if it's not what's cooking in your oven. And one other thing, isn't it kind of convenient that these people show up in our lives so that we have an excuse not to be in our power, to be a victim? They're the villains, we're the victims. We don't have to move ahead as powerfully in our lives because we have them as our excuse. So my two friends and I took a vow. We made a commitment to watch it every moment to make sure that we're not flapping about on the outside, one thing, and being completely incongruent on the inside. And we made a vow to see where we're using that relationship or circumstance as an excuse to be a victim, and a vow to no longer enjoy making them the villain. And once we got that clear, we also made the commitment to, instead of being powerless victims, to have a vision of what we do want to create. The man with his finances, the woman with her relationship to her kids, and me to my relationship to someone who it seemed didn't want me to succeed, but I had to take a look at, was that really true? So I'm going to recommend you do the same. Maybe you want to do some writing. Ask yourself these questions. Who am I making a villain? Or in what circumstance am I allowing myself to be a victim and giving up my power? And instead of being a powerless victim, what is the vision that I do want? And what's the truth anyway? And what action can I take that will move my life to the next level? Ask yourself these questions, get the answers, and start acting on them. I think you'll discover that it's not necessary to be powerless. It's a choice that we make, and it's up to us if we want to make different choices. Sending love to you, as always.